Hey, I'm Gus.
And I'm Henry.
And we are not alive.
Just like a number of children who were in the movie Kids vs. Monsters. The directorial debut of eccentric crypto-slinging Sultan Saeed Al-Damaki.
Yes, a real Sultan made this. This movie, even though clearly crypto didn't pay for it, because crypto can't really pay for anything, it does have a certain amount of money behind it that makes it look like a nightmare from a world where movies are just this.
It's true, because yeah, crypto couldn't pay for 3 fully released episodes of the Red Ape Family. We never saw more of Super Doge, Cryptoland. Where did that end up being? But no, Sultan Al-Damaki, here is a man who puts his mysterious money where his mouth is and gave us this. This is going to be a little bit different to some of our, other crypto videos, because for once, this is a thing that doesn't, sling crypto at every turn. It's just weird in other ways.
No, as a matter of fact, this film is, very, against rich people.
It's true. As our friend Lindsay said on Letterboxd, it's really bizarre to see an Eat the Rich film from a literal sultan.
Buddy, you're on that menu.
Yeah, to tell you a little bit about what this movie is about, because it has a kind of classic TV tropes / audience alienating premise. This is a movie about the 6 richest and most influential people in the world deciding that the only thing holding them back are their kids. So, they make a deal with basically the devil, who is referred to in this as Boss Monster, played by fucking Alex DeLarge himself, Malcolm McDowell, to take all of their kids to a isolated house and have monsters assassinate them.
And to be clear, these are the monsters that have not yet become fully fledged monsters in the movie's language. These are all the bargain bin jank monsters who haven't quite made it yet. And the idea is that throughout the movie, we will watch them just straight up kill these kids. Because the rich want to live without their spoiled children. It's very strange, and it's hard to know who to root for.
Yeah, no, I think the only thing I rooted for in this movie was the kind of progress bar to hit the end.
You can do it! You can do it! Keep going! We're almost there!
Go!
Go! My favorite character in the whole movie was, in fact, the minimize button at the very end. I really liked that scene.
Kept me sane. We're not going to do an exhaustive, a beat-by-beat, plot breakdown of this.
Beat by beat, you say?
Oh, no!
The highlight of this movie really is these, incredibly jank monsters. One of whom is Mr. Beet, a man whose head is a beet, who was once a scientist who wanted to create a more, appealing strain of fruits and vegetables so that kids would eat it, and bafflingly decided, well, if I put my own face on the vegetables, kids would want to eat them. Turns out he the-flied himself into a beet man.
Who has super strength that he uses to do his favorite thing. He literally says in the movie, they call me Mr. Beat because I love beating kids.
Yeah, he really had a bit of a heel turn. The trauma of just trying to help kids but it not working out turned him into a serial child beater who is trying to work his way up through the monster underworld to become a powerful Freddy Krueger-esque villain.
Mr. Beat, please give me mercy.
Please, Mr. Breet.
So there is so much about this movie that is just utterly bizarre in the way that the Cryptoland thing is, but one of these is that every single one of the 7 monsters that are introduced, because there is inexplicably 7 monsters for 6 kids, every single one has a atrociously animated, immensely cheap looking, sad backstory, which is really odd because these monsters are showing up either to kill or die. The first thing we see is this weird little parasite creature that we're given this backstory of, oh, she's the last of her species. She wants to rebuild here on Earth. She had to watch her planet die. Basically Superman's origin story, and she is accidentally skewered with a fork and devoured played by a, like, comical fat kid.
Because all of the kids are stereotypes in this. You've got, like, the son of a fitness magnate who is fat. You've got a, like, plastic surgeon's daughter who, like, wins all these pageants, but, the judges are bribed. You also have Oliver, who is a, like, tough as nails, like, fight kid, who is the son of, bafflingly, the world's only global politician? How does that work? What is her constituency?
Is she, like, just the dictator of Earth?
Yeah, like, it's really unclear what the world's only global politician even means. There's also
it feels like something that in a better kids movie, a, like, evil overlord might be like, I like to think of myself more as a global politician.
So there's also, the internet man has a daughter named Avatara, who is, like, the stereotype of the overly online, constantly says, like, oh, I'm trolling you. I've got so many followers. That's her. Then there is...
The fur magnate woman.
Yeah, the fur magnate woman who has, like, a goth girl daughter. That's the only thing that's her only character trait. She's goth. And then there is the crime boss who inexplicably works with all these other people, and his problem is that his son is too nice and makes him, like, as a crime boss, seem like, kind of a pushover, which is really weird considering that, like, criminal organizations, especially, like, organized crime, has survived by, like, having the appearance of being benevolent to the community.
No, it's true. It's extremely true that there is so much about this premise that is just bizarre when you get into any of the details. Like, something Meg and I were laughing at while we were watching it. The Avatara girl, what's already bizarre about that and what she's mocking, because she, like, spends all of her time and money on, like, a Second Life style app that I believe is called something like very low-hanging fruit, like No Life.
Yeah, it is called No Life.
Which is really funny because I believe the Sultan's Twitter account is literally called Metaverse Saeed. We'll maybe get into a little bit of hypocrisy there, Your Majesty.
Literally, a character in this movie says, what, you own a virtual restaurant property? That's ridiculous. Who would ever go to a virtual place? It's not a substitute for real life. They, like, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but they say that, and it's like, Your Majesty, that's the metaverse.
Yeah, also, this is a very tiny nitpick, which is like, oh, that's a particularly ugly fly, like, buzzing around this massive pile of shit. But her dad is like, oh, she's bankrupting me. She's spending all of my money on No Life. He owns No Life. It's like, dude, that money's just going back to you. Is she just rinsing you on the VAT?
Maybe the owner of No Life took some business advice from Mr. Blute. Go to the Patreon if you want to find out that reference. Yowza, yowza, bobowza.
$1 a month. Our scathing 2-hour-long review of Polar. Definitely worth a sit if you like to hear us get properly heated about stuff. I would personally love to see Mr. Blute versus Mr. Beat.
So speaking of getting heated about movies, can we talk about the way that the kills in this movie are structured? Because, like, this is a movie where monsters are killing a bunch of kids, but it's entirely bloodless carnage. So all the ways that these kids die in the movie are, like, esoteric and bizarre.
Yeah, like, I hate to put two Patreon references so close together. Ages and ages ago, we did a group review of the movie Nothing But Trouble, which has a similar thing where, for people who haven't seen that cinematic masterpiece, put through a roller coaster called Mr. Bone Stripper that, like, off-screen strips them of flesh and fires, like, clean, bloodless bones out the back. It has a similar vibe to this movie of, like, doing this in the, like, bloodless way makes this somehow feel more uncomfortable and disturbing.
Yeah, because, like, Candy, who's, like, the pageant girl, she gets turned into a goose by a spell cast by, like, the sort of Cthulhu mythos stand-in named Rebecca, who's, like, a squid witch. And then she's eaten by Monsieur Babette, the, like, French Sasquatch man. It's pretty bizarre, because he's, like, wearing her, like, sash as he's, like, just devouring her and saying, tastes like candy.
Yeah.
And in that moment, too, like, every time one of the kids dies in this, you cut back to their, like, super wealthy, rich parents with the devil cheering, like, yeah, our kids are dead, woo! It's, like, it's so it's weird. I don't know what the, like, are we supposed to be laughing that these people are, like, that bad? Are we supposed to be like, oh, I hope the kids win? Because the kids are also pretty bad for the most part.
But all of their deaths are, like, completely played for comedy. Oh, by the way, a couple of weird facts. The woman who plays Candy is the daughter of Clint Eastwood.
That's wild. Okay.
I will say, I'll give this movie credit for one thing. There is one joke that I'm like, that's legitimately kind of clever. So, because Candy is a, like, pageant queen, and because she doesn't win on merit, her dad is like, oh, I'm wasting so much money bribing the judges of every competition she goes into. She's constantly wearing different sashes that are, like, Miss something over the, like, course of the movie that are, like, you know, normally irrelevant to the scene she's in. And when she's about to be zapped by the, like, Cthulhu Mind Flayer woman, she's wearing a sash that says Miss Catonic.
Oh, okay. That is a little bit of clever. They snuck
that's
the
one joke
there, yeah.
that's kind of clever. You know, my hat is off to you on that one, Sultan.
Well, the thing is, any movie that has, you know, that joke, but also Mr. Beat, and also, like, a cat girl that just shows up out of nowhere and roasts every single one of them?
Yeah, she's called Daisy. She is played by the kind of comedian YouTuber Anna Akana, who has, you know, a lot of the people in this have been in real stuff, and I'm not just talking about the really depressed looking, like, old school actors, like Lance Henriksen, who for most of this movie is, like, sitting on a stoop next to Malcolm McDowell's throne, just staring off into the middle distance, contemplating his career.
It's just like, oh, you know, shake it off, man. Shake it off.
There was a moment early on, in the initial just endless scene where we're meeting all of the shitty parents and they're complaining about their kids. I just turned to Meg and say, what's gonna happen now then? Is just Lance Henriksen gonna appear in a puff of smoke? And he fucking did.
Pretty much that's what happened. This movie really, like, it does not waste a lot of time. It's just like, here are the characters and they're all gonna die and we're gonna just keep introducing monsters with weirder and weirder backstories.
So what were some of the other deaths? There was Avatara is killed by a malevolent robot coffee machine.
Yeah, that wanted to claim revenge on all hipsters because this movie has an obsession with, like, the word hipster.
As Meg pointed out to me, like, yeah, no, hipsters known for rejecting old technology.
It's very bizarre that, like, Avatar is characterized as a hipster, but it also is, like, even more bizarre that, like, you know, usually in a death scene, there's supposed to be, like, the character suffers, or, like, there's, like, a moment of, like, oh no, like, they're gonna die. But in this, like, she just kind of immediately gets disintegrated, and it doesn't feel like they've completed the scene.
No, that's the thing, because she's the first death of the movie, I'm like, is this gonna be a, like, you know, they get away with it because all the kids were actually fine at the end and she was just, like, teleported somewhere by the beam.
Yeah, is this, like, Willy Wonka rules?
She was disintegrated. She is fully dead. Just a pile of clothes on the floor. Am I misremembering this because the movie just has, like, overly creepy vibes anyway? But did someone steal some of her clothes?
This is one of those movies where it just feels like there are a couple extra shots that, like, don't belong there.
Yeah, I watched this, like, 2 days ago, and it's already, like, crybaby laning in my head into this, like, creepypasta nightmare.
See, I think my favorite kill in the entire movie is when Mr. Beat is fighting Oliver.
They give Oliver a weird amount of pathos. He's the most, like, likable one there, honestly.
Oliver and Bobby were, like, shonen rivals for a little bit, because they had, like, a fight scene where, like, you know, it was kind of the unstoppable force meets the immovable object. You know, Bobby, he's big and fat, so he deflects punches, but he's also, like, able to, like, swat Oliver's fists out of the air, while Oliver's just trying to punch him and unable to do damage.
Gonna tell my kids this was Punisher versus Kingpin.
Yeah, no, literally. So, like at the later points of the movie, you think, like, okay, yeah, these kids are gonna fight the monsters, because they set them up as being able to fight. But no, Oliver is just getting, like, destroyed by Mr. Beat completely, and he has this, like, moment where he's like, wait, you're just a bully. Oh, we're not that different. I beat up kids too. I'm a loser. I've never had a girlfriend. And then, like, he gets picked up by Mr. Beat, and Mr. Beat just hurls him out the window And, like, we see the single shot of him fading into the distance, and then, on the moon, dust kicked up.
Doesn't he say, I just put a second man on the moon? And it's like, Mr. Beat, other people went to the moon in addition to Neil Armstrong.
Listen, Mr. Beat is gonna deny a lot of things.
This is, if you will indulge me in just a really bizarre fantasy, because you're right, this whole thing has weirdly, like, B-tier anime vibes. Like, I said earlier that, like, all of the, like, kids who are just kind of thin stereotypes being trapped in this murder house had very Danganronpa vibes, but I'm just picturing the fight scene between Oliver and Mr. Beat being described by Super Eye Patch Wolf, who is a YouTuber I fucking adore.
Yeah,
but I'm just picturing him being like, Oliver has already been established as the most competent fighter of the group, but Mr. Beat is an order of magnitude more powerful. He dismantles Oliver and his ego punch by punch. I fucking love Super Robot Wolf, no shade. I just love his very distinctive style. But, okay, so then another one of just the really grim deaths, because not just... Candy doesn't just get eaten, and what's weird is the death that Bobby has feels like it suits Candy a lot more because of, you know, the name, but basically, I think, is it Mr. Beat or is it the, like, Batman butler?
Mr. Beat has the highest kill. He gets
highest KD ratio.
Yeah, he literally rips Bobby's lower body away from him, and there's a discretion shot, but then, like, candy starts flying everywhere as if Bobby was just a living piñata. In wrappers, by the way! Like, the candy is all in wrappers.
Yeah, no, it's bizarre, even by, like, fantasy kids movie standards, and they do a Day of the Dead reference, where Bobby keeps going, choke on him, as he's dying, as all of these monsters, including the cat girl, who makes me feel weird, like, just eating the candy. I'm trying to remember, were there any other deaths, or have they killed all the meaningful kids at this point? Because the other monsters are, as we alluded to before, Monsieur Babette, who is a French-Canadian Sasquatch who wears flannel and has an axe. Yep, there's Daisy the cat girl, there's the, like, bug creature that is immediately vored by Bobby. There is the butler, who is a literal Batman, like a werebat, and he canonically has OCD?
Yeah, and that is why he turned to, like, you know, pharmaceuticals to get rid of it, to cure it, but it ended up turning him into, like, a, you know, bat wolf man. The backstories in this are really weird.
And there are other, like, incidental monsters as well. Like, you'll know from the first seconds of this video that there's this odd little gremlin thing that murders Keith David and the other news anchor in what Lindsay accurately described as a nostalgia critic explosion.
Yeah, it looked exactly like that. And there's a similar, like, approach to explosions later in the movie towards the climax, where the final three monsters are chasing down Goth Girl and Crime Boy, and, like, they're just driving in a car. It's Mr. Beat, Babette, and the cat girl, and they're going down the road to try and get them, and they end up just going over the cliff and exploding.
Kind of Thelma and Louise style.
Which is wild, because it's like you have all these distinct monsters with their own, like, you know, weird gimmicks and ways to, but instead of, like, fighting them, they just all get unceremoniously blown up all at once.
Yeah. So we get the twist. Even though only 4 of the 6 children have been permanently and irrevocably killed to the glee of their parents, Malcolm McDowell, Boss Monster, is like, aha, but this whole thing was a trick. Rich people, your soul is mine. And, like, tendrils wrap around them, and he steals all of their souls, and then just becomes a global politician himself and takes over the world.
Yeah, exactly. And we get this, you know, shot of Mr. Beat climbing his way out of the ditch and staring into the camera and saying the last line of the film, "I beat death."
which perfectly sets us up for the Mr. Beat solo movie that, Sultan, if you're watching this, I am begging you to produce and direct.
Please, yeah, please do it. Like, honestly, you must have some extra money to throw around if you're into crypto. Like, nobody who doesn't have disposable money gets into crypto and stays in it for very long.
If you've made it this far into the video, tell me a scene that you think is going to be in the Mr. Beat solo movie. And if we get enough of them, we will make a video where we string together the scenes into a legible Mr. Beat movie outline. Because I desperately want to see what you will come up with.
Please, and please, Mr. Sultan, please make Mr. Beat public domain. He's too good. Please.
Give Mr. Beat to the people.
Please, sire, my lord, Sultan, please make him public domain. I need Mr. Beat. I need him!
Give us Mr. Beat. Hashtag give us Mr. Beat.
Give us the beat, boys, and free my soul.